Hi everybody, welcome back to Mando Lessons. In this lesson I'm going to answer a question that I get a lot of emails about and a lot of questions from my students about, which is how fast should I be playing these tunes that I'm learning? Um, and ultimately there's no hard and fast rule for the most part, especially if you're just either playing for yourself or playing with your friends. You can just mutually decide on whatever speed you like to hear the tune played. I, for one, I think I have my preferred speed might be a little slower than other people. Some people really love to rip right through some fast, really fun tunes, and I like to take them a little bit slower. Maybe play them a few times more, and it's the difference between playing. And that's great. It's really fun and energetic to play that fast. A lot of times, though, I'd rather play something like this. That tune's Whiskey Before Breakfast, in case you're interested. There's a lesson on learning that tune on mandolessons.com, and I'll try to play tunes in this lesson that are all available on the website, and I'll try to name them. I'll do my best anyway. So ultimately, I think the biggest rule is play as fast as you want to play. Don't play so fast that you're going to hurt yourself. Don't play so slow that you're bored all the time. Just kind of experiment and see what sounds best to you. That said, I play a lot for contra dances in New England, and there's a certain speed that a lot of this music was written as dance music, and there's certain sort of speed that the dancers like to dance at, and that's comfortable for dancing. And if you play too fast, people start tripping over themselves. If you play too slow, you give the dancers kind of the excitement and the momentum that they need to kind of dance to their full potential. So at a contra dance, for example, it's kind of, a lot of the steps are just walking steps. You'll do, like balance and swing your partner, or do-si-do, or everybody kind of joins hand and walks down the hall. There's not a lot of fancy footwork. It's just a handful of different moves that the caller calls out to the dancers on the floor, and you don't need any experience to get out there and dance, just because you're always being told what to do, which is good for me. I like being told what to do if I'm out on the floor dancing. But that being said, there's where's that nice balance of giving the dancers in a contra dance enough momentum to sort of keep their energy level high and not play so fast that they can't keep up with the moves. If you're thinking in sort of beats per minute, that's going to be around 110 to 120 beats per minute. I was taught by the great David Kaner in Western Massachusetts. He taught me just think, keep the beat, 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 sort of said fast, kind of at a comfortably fast speed. Keep the beat, 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 somewhere around there. So that would be the speed you might play tunes at to give dancers a comfortable feel. And so something around that speed would sound like this. Keep the beat, etc. And if I use my handy little metronome here I've got on my phone, it's got a little tap function, so I'm going to tap it every time I say keep the beat, keep the beat, keep the beat, keep the beat, and it'll tell me what beats per minute I'm going at, and we'll see how good my internal metronome. I'm aiming for like 115, right between 110 and 120. Keep the beat, 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 keep the beat. So it's a little slow, somewhere around 110. Hope you can see that. I'll try to make it not reflect. And so, that's probably a comfortable speed for people to be dancing at. If you go too slow, if it's down around, low 90s, I'll turn on the click. I hope it's not too loud for you. the dancers don't really have the momentum. It's a little kind of slow, and the speed will vary depending on where you're dancing and who you're dancing with, etc. And what speed the band likes to play. But if it gets too slow, edges into the low 90s, you kind of start like kind of stomping along and getting just like a little lethargic, really. And if it's too fast, if you ratchet things way up, like 135, then A, it's, for me, uncomfortable to play at that speed. And you're also probably like really trying to cook right along with your dancing to keep up with what the caller's saying and what the music's telling your feet to do, and it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, and people are going to be more likely to trip over themselves and get off the tune and kind of derail the dance. So, somewhere in between there, common tempos that I hear are 110, 120, and really, I just think of a comfortable keep the beat, keep the beat, keep the beat, keep the beat, keep the beat. And yeah, I started that too fast because I was just listening to that 135. Keep the beat, keep the beat, keep the beat, keep the beat. So somewhere in there. And one thing that can really inform your tempo choices is to go and dance at a contra dance. If you start contra dancing, it'll really inform what makes a good sort of dance music. And even if you're not playing for dances, there's something kind of, I think, ingrained in our bodies that we hear something at like a nice dance tempo, and it's a little more enjoyable of an experience than really hearing something really too fast and a little overwhelming, or kind of too slow and stumping along. So finding that comfortable speed, figuring out where you like to dance, or going to a contra dance or some other kind of dance, whether it's an Irish dance or whatever kind of music you're playing, and if there's people dancing to that kind of music around where you are, go to it and learn a little bit about it. And A, it's a lot of fun, and B, it'll make you a better musician. So the example I was playing there is a tune called Pay to Ho. It's a great kind of New England, Quebec classic around New England and Maine in particular, at least that I know of. So that tune, at around 110, I'll get my thing back up to 110. Just in case you're interested, I'm going to tell you the name of this app. I have a metronome, but I don't use it much more now that I've got this app. It's really handy. I'm on an iPhone, and it's called Metro Timer. I'm pretty sure it was free. I mostly just use free apps, so I'd be surprised if it cost much, if anything. So getting that tempo going at 110, it feels, to me, because I've played for a lot of contra dances, that feels like a really comfortable speed to play a tune at. And another thing to keep in mind is jig, whether you're playing a jig or a reel, they're both going to have this bass tempo going of about 110. So a jig will sound like this. I'll play Old Favorite as a jig, and then maybe I'll go into Pay to Ho as a reel. So that's an example. And so jigs, because you have kind of 6 notes per measure, and you have 8 notes per measure in a reel, your jig has more space in it. It's a little more spacious. It's a little more kind of chilled out sounding, for lack of a better word at the moment. And so that can change the energy level from going from a jig to a reel. It also, some people will have the tendency to play jigs faster than it's comfortable to dance to, because they try to make kind of the note value. They try to make 6 notes happen at the same speed that 8 notes are happening in reels, so you get jigs that are really kind of ripping right along because they don't feel as fast to play. But it's still hard for the dancers because that internal tempo is, oops, hitting my phone here. Internal tempo is still. If you do a jig at that speed there, you get something in the one, like, I'm up around like 146, which is way too fast to dance, but it's easier to play a jig at 146 than to play a reel at 146. And this goes for all kinds of dancing. I know most about contra dancing just because that's what I play for, and that's what I go to, and that's what I dance. But there's Irish and Scottish dancing and old time kind of flat foot dancing, and each of those probably have comfortable speeds. So sort of learning more about the tradition where the tune comes from will inform you on what speed to play at. So just as a quick recap, that's about all I have to say on the subject. But ultimately, if you're not playing for dancing, play at whatever speed you feel like playing at. Or, if you want to learn to play faster, I've got some videos on that over at mandolessons.com. If you feel like you want to be playing faster, but you feel like you're hitting some roadblocks, some of those videos might help with that to get you to a speed that you feel like you should be playing the tunes at. But mostly, if I'm just playing with my friends, I'll play usually slower than contra dance tempo. And if I'm playing for a dance, then keeping that tempo right up there for the sake of the dancers so they don't get bogged down in this melody that's too slow or too fast. And if you are playing for a dance, somewhere between 110 or 120, or like David Kaner taught me to say, keep the beat, keep the beat, keep the beat, keep the beat. Is a good kind of benchmark for finding a danceable speed. If you can't say it because it's going too fast, it means you're probably playing too fast for the dancers. So that's all for now. I hope that's helpful for those of you who've written me with that question or are having that question. And if you have any more questions, send them to me over at mandolessons.com. And if check out all the other lessons over there. There's a bunch of tunes, a bunch of technique, some bluegrass, you name it. And if there's something you don't see, write me. And as long as it's not copyrighted material, I will try to make a lesson of it eventually. My list is long, but I'm happy to add to it. Thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.